Republican frontrunner Donald Trump making waves on the campaign trail for voicing support for racial profiling, essentially, in the wake of the California terror attack. Mr. Trump warning that Americans have been too politically correct and that profiling may prevent another attack. Listen.
If you have people coming out of mosques with hatred and with death in their eyes and on their minds, we're going to have to do something, John. We can't just say we're not going to look at it. Now, I made that statement a number of weeks ago. It took a lot of people were not exactly thrilled with it, and now everybody seems to agree with me.
Katie Pavlich is the news editor for townhall.com and a Fox News contributor. Marianne Marsh is former senior advisor to John Kerry. Welcome to both of you.
Good morning, Martha.
Good morning. Marianne, is that something we need to start doing?
Well, I think that statement, that one clip by Donald Trump is too incendiary. In many respects, what President Obama said last night and Donald Trump are saying are the same thing. That is the most effective way to cull out the people who wish us ill and are planning these kinds of attacks are people who travel in the same circles. In this case, other Muslims, in mosques, family members, others who travel in that same community, and have them report them.
But
just
Marianne,
like
we have been asking for that since September 11th. Okay, that is clearly not happening. We need to move perhaps to a posture where we make it extremely uncomfortable to not say something if you have seen something. And that may require a little more force.
Well, the fact is, what Donald Trump is suggesting is that we all stand outside of mosques and look at people when they come out and determine which one of them is planning against us. That doesn't work. The pressure does need to be increased against Muslims in the Muslim community to report their own. That did happen in Boston with one of the Tsarnaev brothers. What happened after that was that information was not used. But I think the president was very clear last night. He is telling the Muslim community, you need to report fellow mosque members, family members, and others without excuse, and he is right.
Katie?
Yeah, I think Marianne actually has a good point in the sense that we need to encourage people in the Muslim American community to report these people. And then if they decide to do so, the FBI has to be able to use that information to pursue terror investigations. Right. And the bottom line is that we used to be able to survey in mosques where there was probable cause to believe that terrorist activity was going on, and we can no longer do that. And we've seen the results of that being more terrorism here at home. But the federal government has not done a good job of making sure they're looking at the right people. The Tsarnaev brothers are an example. The president last night talked about the no-fly list, which, by the way, is 700,000 names, 40% of which are names of people who have no ties to terrorism. And so now we have this bureaucratic, mangled mess of people who are on this list, and yet we can't get anywhere because the federal government isn't doing anything with the information they have, and they're scooping up the wrong people. So yes, we need to monitor mosques. We've done it before. It was effective. But we also need organizations like CARE to take a step back and say, do we want our community to be tainted with this idea of Islamic extremism, or do we want to be part of the solution in helping weed this out of our own communities here at home and also abroad?
Let's listen to one other bit from Donald Trump here. Let's play that.
I would certainly go after the wives who absolutely knew what was happening. And I guess your definition of what I do, I'm going to leave that to your imagination. But I will tell you, I would be very tough on families because the families know what's happening.
Well, we now know that Farouk's father said to an Italian newspaper that his son was a supporter of ISIS, that he had vowed to fight Israel, and that he was, quote, very religious. That's the father's term, also a Muslim, about his own son. He said he was very religious and that he was a supporter of ISIS. Unfortunately, he did not step forward with that information before 14 people lost their lives, Marianne.
And there has to be a push on everybody to do that. And the analogy I would use is the fact that in the wake of Columbine, we taught kids to report their classmates if they issued, issue threats against them or their school. And that has saved a lot of attacks on schools. The same thing has to be done in the Muslim community. And if it is being done, the public should know about it to help with that pressure as well, because that's what works: cultural, educational pressure. And many Muslims will tell you that the way to defeat ISIS is having other Muslims call out other Muslims.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need here.
Right.
No, they have to not have a fear of stepping forward and saying that they are concerned about something. This is obviously everyone's country, and nobody wants these people to be mercilessly and innocently slaughtered among us. So if anyone has information, they need to step forward. We need to provide incentives for them to do so, and we need to make it very uncomfortable if you do not do so. And
they should feel good about doing it.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Well,
Marianne,
yeah, but
Katie,
we can't.
Go ahead, Katie. Quick thought, and we got to go.
I was just going to say that we can't encourage people in the Muslim American community to come forward when the left, the administration, organizations like CARE are more concerned about Islamophobia than they are about weeding out terrorism in their own communities. And I do want to note that last week in Washington, D.C., there was a group of Muslim Americans in D.C. advocating for exactly what we've talked about, and now they have death sentences on their heads from these radicals, not only overseas, but in the United States. And so we need to encourage them, but we can't do that if everyone's going to be accused of Islamophobia for bringing up the fact that there is an Islamic terrorism problem in the Muslim community that has to be taken care of.
Katie and Marianne,
We're all into this.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Let's hope so.